buy now, pay later. Back when I was a kid, we used to call it putting things on layaway. We had these payment options to buy things that technically if you had the cash to pay for it, great. If you don't, you can't afford it. And so what that buy now, pay later, and there's a million companies that are doing it now, are systems that, again, allow short-term financing. The benefit of them versus credit cards is typically there's no interest charge. I'll like take something that's going to be $100 and break it down to 4 payments of $25 each, and you pay it once a month. And there's typically no interest on it. There's typically more flexibility. They've made it easier. They give you the option right as you buy and pay for things. And why is this not a good idea? Because again, it is pushing money down the road. Now, sure, it's great in the fact that you're getting interest-free payments. And if you're super crazy disciplined, I guess it works good for you. But for most people, what it's doing is taking a $100 payment, pushing out in 4 installments, and then you've forgotten about those installments by month 2, 3, and 4. And all of a sudden now you've bought a bunch of things now that you're going to pay for later, and you don't have the money to pay for all that stuff. So how exactly does it work? I know where I have seen it is typically when I'm doing my online shopping and you go to pay for something and it just gives you the option to pay for something later. And so companies like Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, there's been a bunch of these companies that do it. I honestly, it's funny, I never paid attention. I had to actually look up what the providers and the names of these companies were. But what it does is this, is that after checkout, it gives you that option. Usually you pay a small upfront, and usually it is about a quarter of whatever it is that you're going to pay for. And then the rest of it gets pushed out. Sometimes it's bi-weekly, sometimes it's monthly, no interest. And it's this ease of being able to buy things that you typically shouldn't afford. And so the nice also part about it is in the past is that if you missed the payments or if you had something bad go on with those, it wasn't being reported on your credit score. And so now the question is in the future is, could this be wrecking your credit score? I got some information from somebody and said, starting next year, I want to make sure I read it to you guys. Starting next year, every buy now, pay later payment you make will start showing up on your credit report. And so in this video, if you're in your 20s and you use these companies, Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, you could be at a huge credit risk. And I don't know, I've never seen a statement or seen how it comes across to you, but you need to know how to use these companies. You need to understand, in my opinion, another thing like credit cards that just isn't necessary. Either you have the money to buy things or you don't. And pushing out the cost of some of these things it makes no sense to me whatsoever as to if something costs $100 and you can't pay the $100 and buy it, then we probably shouldn't be buying it, regardless of if they're offering you all these great incentives of spreading out the payments and having no interest and all those kind of things. But in the past, it didn't affect your credit score, and now it can. And as I've talked about many times, if you wreck your credit score, and again, you only need it to borrow money, but the only time I want you borrowing money is to buy a house or start a business, then you just got to be careful that you don't do that. So what is the catch? There's always a catch to these things. It's no different than when companies are trying to sell you, cards for future use. Why am I blanking out on the term on that? But, most people never use them, and the companies get to borrow your money for free because gift cards. Duh, I don't know why I couldn't think of what it was. But you're getting gift cards. It's kind of like sort of giving yourself a gift card where you're paying it over a certain amount of time. What's the catch? It is debt. You're stacking up debt. Just because they're charging interest, I promise at some point, if you don't make those payments, at some point, there is going to be interest on there, and each provider does it a little bit differently. It feels harmless to spend money this way, but it's super easy to lose track on how much money you're spending. There is no real underwriting. So you might be able to buy something you really can't afford, and maybe you're talking about now TVs or stereo equipment or video games or something that's now starting to be hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, laptops, iPhones, computers, whatever it might be. And by spreading out those payments, you're doing what we want you not to be doing, which is creating, I can afford the payment. Well, we got to get that mindset out of our brain about affording the payment. We got to get to the point, can we afford the item or not the payment? Late fees and collection. So here's what it said: missed payments, late fees, and eventually debt collection. And now even with the new FICO updates, missed buy now, pay later payments are visible to lenders. So if you go to get a mortgage on a house and you've missed payments on these buy now, pay later loans, you will get dinged on your credit. It will cost you on a potentially higher interest rate when you go to get a mortgage or some other type of financing. And what it does encourage, and this is the same thing like credit cards, to me, this is just a sort of a different type of a credit card, is it allows you to buy things you can't afford. It's impulse buying. It's, That's $500, but I can pay $125 now and get it and pay the rest over time. We don't need to be doing that stuff, right? I have all kinds of funny clips and funny videos talking about if you have the money, buy things. If you don't have the money, don't buy things. And it's really quite simple like that. So lack of credit education. So because people don't understand how credit works, and a lot of times people who can't get a traditional credit card or other financing can get ahead of this, says most young users don't realize these are actually real loans. This isn't like I borrowed 20 bucks from my brother and I promised to pay him back. You need to think of them, or you don't want to think of them as being harmless or as payment plans. These are real, legitimate financial obligations. And here's the thing, new FICO scoring models, score 10 for buy now, pay later, and score 10T for buy now, pay later will include a history. So if you have a bad history of these payments, it'll start to show up in those areas as well. And companies like Affirm now report to TransUnion, Experian, other providers are expected to follow. So this is going to be, again, just a different way of stores issuing you credit. No different than back in the day, you could go to a Target or a Walmart or any sort of store and they would issue their own credit card. This is kind of the more modern day version of the credit card, and they offer it to you so easily. I know whenever I've seen them pop up, it was not something I ever asked for. It was just something they gave you the option for, and the way they sink you into it is with the no interest and no credit checks. Just tap, 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 pay later, boom, 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 and off you go. And I promise you, it's not going to be something that you're happy that you did down the road. So let's talk about if you've already done this. So what do you do right now? I made some notes for myself. If you've used a buy now, pay later, or for the old school people like me, a layaway plan, here's how to avoid getting into having bad issues show up on your credit, into having, just problems down the road with this stuff. Is you need to set a calendar and a reminder for every payment. So because I personally never used it, I'm assuming when you click on there and you make that first payment, it's going to give you like a time frame of when the second and third and fourth payments are going to be. So you need to know when they are. You want to never stack up multiple buy now, pay later loans. You want to treat it like credit card debt, which we want credit card debt to be zero. We don't want you to have these kind of loans. So to me, it's just something where in a perfect world, you would never use these. Now, totally different if something came up and you had a medical reason, you had to buy crutches or a wheelchair, or there was something that you just absolutely, you were in such a bad spot financially, you had to do it. There's, I guess, a reason why you would, but in a perfect world, do not do this. Now, you want to pay them early. You don't have to wait for the due date. So I'm assuming just like on a credit card, if you made the first payment and you were just waiting to get paid on Friday, and now you got paid on Friday, you want to pay the whole thing off, I'm assuming you could do that as well. Just like you can on a credit card, I can go onto my phone and pull up my credit card app and pay off my credit card every day. So if I charge something today and it shows up tomorrow, I can pay it off tomorrow. So I don't have to wait for the due date. So these are things where you can make it feel more like a cash transaction, but I think that kind of defeats the whole purpose of the buy now, pay later. But again, to me, it's something you shouldn't be doing. And you want to check your credit report regularly. I never check my credit report, obviously, anymore because I don't ever need to borrow money. But if you're someone who's thinking about borrowing money, you can. But again, I don't think it's something you need to check all the time. I think it's just something where when you know you're going to be borrowing money in the future, it's something that you need to look into. It's something that if you need to worry about your credit score, great. But as long as you're doing all the things we talk about on this channel, you'll never have to check your credit score. The reason why I don't check mine is I'm usually around 800. And it's because I use credit. I use it responsibly. I don't keep big balances on there. I pay the bills in full every month. And again, in my brain, if you treat a buy now, pay later like a credit card, my belief on this would be, this is just one more way for them to try to get you in the trap of getting behind and getting in debt. And eventually it's going to jack up your credit score. So it's not something that I would do. So what are the best practices? So if you're going to use this, which I recommend you do not, only use one buy now, pay later plan at a time. Just one. If that one is not paid off, do not do another one. 2, think of it and treat it like a credit card, not free money. It's just sort of a non-interest, zero interest loan that they're giving you, but don't think of it like that. Set reminders for the due date so you can pay them off right as they come through. Use them for only essential or planned purchases. When I say essential, it's like, I don't know what could be essential that you would need to do this, but again, people are going to do what they want to do. And again, it would say monitor your credit report. But again, if we're doing all the right things, go from there. So if you were to go to the website and grab our top 11 things you need to do on your money and finances, going into debt, credit card debt, buy now, pay later debt, using these companies, don't do it. It's going to be bad. And I did some statistics on it. There's already been 90 million Americans that have used this. And as of a 2023 survey that we did, 42%, pushing towards half, at some point have missed a payment. So it just shows you right there all you need to know. It's the same thing like with the credit card. You get the credit card, you say you're going to pay it in full every month, then you don't, then you start to go snowball in the wrong direction. And that's exactly what these buy now, pay later things are going to be as well. So the average buy now, pay later person is under 30, typically with lower credit scores and even lower credit scores than credit card users. And this is kind of another version of these companies like payday loans and personal loans and just all these other super high interest ways that they're trying to get you. This one is a little more sneaky because they entice you with you can have it, only pay for a little bit of it, no interest at all. And they're just hoping that if 40+% of the people don't pay on time, then they start making some extra money and doing those kind of things. So we'll see. Again, all things come full circle. When I was a kid, we used to call it layaway. Now they call it buy now, pay later. And whenever you see anything that is buy now, pay later, it's a bad idea. It's just using credit for things that do not go up in value. And you're not going to see buy now, pay later and no interest for things like cars and houses and things like that. Because why? It just doesn't make any sense for them. This is only a money-making scheme for these type of companies. So if you have questions about this one in your brain, just don't use it. Think about it like a credit card. Move on to other things. Don't worry about this product. It is not a product that is really something that you should be doing unless you are literally in desperation mode. And the whole idea of this channel is not to be there. So hopefully that's helpful. Reach out with questions. Love to hear from you. Give me any other questions you have about some other topics you'd like to hear about, and we'll see you soon.